Okay guys, today we're going to go over some rowing technique. There is definitely technique to that, and I think a lot of people get confused that rowing is just something you get into the machine and you just kind of do, almost like a bicycle. But there's a lot more technique to it. I mean, there's even the sport, the crew sport, Olympic sport for that matter. So let's go over some of the points in rowing. Better technique you have, just like in Olympic lifting, yeah, sure, you can get the bar up, but the better your technique, the more output you have, the more efficient you are, the greater lifts you can make. So same thing with rowing. Too often do people just die if there's a row in the WOD because they're so inefficient. They get off the rower, they may get off the exact same as somebody who is efficient, but they're a lot more tired to do the rest of the workout because they were inefficient during the row. So I think rowing is very important, and so let's just go over a couple of things. First of all, you want to make sure your feet are on the pad. These pads move, so you want to make sure the balls of your feet are on that fat part of the pad there. Your damper setting. Your damper setting is basically kind of mimicking the size of your oar. So if you have a smaller, shorter oar or skinnier oar, you're going to move less water, but it's going to be easier to pull. Your last one, the higher it is, the bigger the oar, the more water it displaces, the harder it is to pull. Now, if I'm sprinting and it's like 200, 250 meters and it's just this pure sprint, I will have it all the way up. Generally, if I'm doing anything 500, I'm more towards the 6. Anything a little longer than that, 1,000, 2,000 meter row, I tend to kind of go towards 5 or so. So 6 or 7 is usually generally where I put it. So anyway, as I strap in, I want to strap in nice and tight. Big thing you want to do is we want to be able to make sure that we're using our big muscles to move the rower, and then finally our little muscles at the very end. So as we take the handle here, first thing we want to do is make sure that we're efficiently transferring power into the rower. So we're going to keep our back nice and flat rather than rounded or start even here. All this pull here is inefficient. So we want to keep our back nice and flat. Get as much pull as we can, but we don't want our heels to come up off the pad all that much, right? So we're going to come here, nice round back, or flat back for that matter, and we're going to start the pull with our legs. And really, it becomes a push. So I'm starting to push with my legs, I'm pushing away, my legs are doing most of the driving, then now my hips are involved. And the first thing I want to make sure and do is that my hip goes back first. So if I'm keeping straight back and I'm pushing away from the rower and sending my hips back first, I don't want to shoot them back, but keeping my back straight, sending my hips back first, I'm going to be able to use my hips in the pull. And where a lot of people get confused is start here, they send their back first, and then now it's just a legs and arm motion rather than a legs, hips, arm motion. Okay? So it's a legs, hip, arm motion rather than, and you see a lot of that, especially in beginners, is they tend to lead with their back. And we want to make sure that we're leading slightly with our butt so that our hips get involved, our big power generators. A lot of other mistakes that I do see is leaning too far back. So I'll see this. That's just wasted motion, trying to get the most out of their pull. Usually you want to stop at about just before a 45-degree angle with your back. You don't want to create a big angle on the back end of it. Also, the target of your row or your handle should be the bottom of your chest, right where your sternum is. So right at where your sternum ends, for that matter. You want to bring it right to the bottom of your chest and not high. Elbow position should not be out. Position should be in. So again, points of performance is that we start with a flat back, we start with our legs, sending our butt slightly back first, open up the hips, pull with tight elbows to our sternum, okay, or the bottom of our chest. Pull with tight elbows to the bottom of our chest. The last thing I see a ton of is coming back to the rower too quick. Basically, you're shortening your stride. If you're a shorter person, you're even short, you're at a disadvantage. Now you're making it a bigger disadvantage. If you meet the handle of the bar. So if I see this coming back, and after they just get a pull, they start to come already, then they have to go around their knees. That's not what we want. We want a full finish of the pull. We're sending the boat in a big push, letting it glide, then coming back and keeping that momentum of the boat, if you think about a boat in water. So as I push back, I don't want to meet the bar first. I'm thinking legs, hips, arms, arms, hips, legs. Legs, hips, arms, hips, legs. So legs, hips, arms, hips, legs. Legs, hips, arms, hips, legs. Okay? If you pause at the back, it helps make sure you get that full extension. And you want to take about the same amount of time as you pull for your recovery. And if you imagine your fingertips, I heard a concept rower instructor say this one time, but imagine your fingertips on the top of the table, scratching the top of the table, and as soon as you're at the end of the table, you come under and scratch the bottom of the table with your knuckles. So there's not a lot of this motion that's going on with the handle or the chain. You don't see a lot of this. Basically, you're here, coming right back and forward. You want to do this. Okay, and your immediate tell sign is all that noise that chain makes as it hits the rower as you reset. Last thing I want to talk about, a great drill, especially in a warm-up. I do this a lot, even in competitions, especially team competitions when there's a lot of switching in the row. Is if you row without straps, it really teaches you to be able to finish your pull and come back more efficiently. Because if you want to pull back too soon, your momentum's already taking you this way. Without the strap, you don't have the opportunity to try to force yourself into the pull back. So your foot leaves the pad. So we want to make sure as we come through, if you're rowing without the straps are off. It lets us finish that pull. And then the other thing is it doesn't let us lean too far back or we're out of the pad. So that's rowing technique.